There is a kind of silence that does not bring peace. It brings pressure. A kind of stillness that does not invite reflection, but provokes confusion. You know it the moment it enters the room. You say something honest, something vulnerable, and instead of words in return, you get nothing. Not disagreement, not anger, just absence. And that absence says everything. This is not about needing space. This is not about taking a breath or cooling down. This is about power. The silent treatment is one of the most subtle but corrosive forms of emotional control. Because it is not loud, it does not shout, it just disappears. It retreats not because it cannot speak, but because it wants you to chase. And when you do, the power shifts. They are no longer responsible for how they made you feel. You are now responsible for fixing the silence they created. Most people confuse emotional regulation with emotional distance. They think silence means strength. But silence used to avoid vulnerability is not strength. It is fear. It is immaturity dressed up as self-control. Because the most emotionally mature people are not the ones who can shut down for days. They are the ones who can stay in the room and say, "I am hurt, and I do not know how to talk about it yet." That is real strength. That is real communication. And anything less than that is not a pause. It is punishment. If someone in your life routinely uses silence as a weapon, what you are experiencing is not just poor communication. You are experiencing emotional manipulation. And if you do not learn how to respond from your strength instead of your fear, you will spend your life walking on eggshells, always trying to guess when you are allowed to be heard again. The silent treatment works because it creates anxiety in the person receiving it. You replay what you said. You analyze every word. You wonder if you should have stayed quiet. You ask yourself if you are the problem. And that is exactly what they want. Because the moment you start questioning yourself, they no longer have to explain anything. But here's the truth. You cannot fix a relationship by becoming smaller inside of it. You cannot create connection by chasing someone who only speaks when they are winning. Communication is not a reward you earn by being pleasing. It is a baseline requirement for any relationship that calls itself healthy. So this is not about figuring out how to make them speak. This is about remembering that their silence says more about them than it does about you. And your job is not to fill the gap they created. Your job is to stand in who you are long enough to remember that silence does not have to shake you. Over the next 3 parts, we will walk through what to do. But first, we must agree on this. The silent treatment is not a normal part of love. It is a distortion of it. And the longer you tolerate it, the more it convinces you that love must come with pain, that your needs are too much, and that your voice only matters when someone else says it does. None of that is true. And the moment you stop chasing the silence, you start reclaiming yourself. One of the most dangerous habits we carry from childhood is the instinct to chase. We grow up learning that when someone pulls away, it is our job to move toward them, to make it right, to fix what feels broken. And we confuse that pattern with love. So when someone we care about goes silent on us, disappears emotionally, removes their presence without explanation, something deep inside us gets activated. It feels urgent. It feels personal. It feels like the silence is our fault. And that belief is the first trap. Because the moment you chase, you lose. Not because you are weak, but because you have stepped into a game that was never meant to have a winner. The silent treatment is not just absence, it is control. And control requires your participation to work. They retreat, you pursue, they pull away. You lean in harder, they go quiet. You fill the space with apologies, questions, justifications, and every time you do, you are reinforcing the very behavior that hurts you. People who use silence to punish are not looking for reconciliation. They are looking for power. And when you chase them, you give them exactly that. You validate the idea that they can disappear without consequence, that they can emotionally abandon the moment and still expect you to hold the weight of it. And over time, this turns into a pattern that slowly convinces you that connection must always come with performance. But real connection does not require you to beg for it. It does not require you to prove your worth after every conflict. It does not demand your pursuit as a condition for peace. Love that requires you to chase is not love. It is a transaction disguised as relationship. So what do instead? You stop chasing. You stop texting just to check if they are okay. You stop apologizing when you know deep down that you did not do anything wrong. You stop explaining yourself to someone who has already chosen to step out of communication. And you definitely stop waiting by the phone, hoping they come back on their own. Because when you stop chasing, you change the game. You teach them that your presence is not earned through silence, that you will not perform for love, that you are willing to walk alone for a while if it means protecting your peace. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. You will feel the pull. You will feel the voice inside that says just one more message might fix it, but silence is not fixed by effort. It is broken by boundaries. The people who use the silent treatment regularly are not responding to hurt. They are reacting from a place of emotional immaturity. They want you to feel what they cannot express. And instead of saying, "I feel disrespected" or "I need space," they say nothing. They disappear and wait for you to come find them. That is not communication. That is emotional coercion. And it should not be rewarded. Walking away from that game is not giving up. It is waking up. It is realizing that the way someone handles their discomfort is a direct reflection of their relationship with themselves. And if they refuse to take ownership of their feelings, you are not required to carry them. So you stay steady, you stay kind, but you stay still. And in that stillness you remember who you are. You remember that your voice matters even when they refuse to hear it. You remember that your worth is not negotiated in silence. It is upheld in how you choose to respond to it. If they come back ready to talk, you will meet them there. But if they stay silent, let them learn that you will not fill the silence with your soul. You will not be the one who carries both sides of the connection. You deserve more, and the first step to receiving more is refusing to chase less. There comes a point when silence is no longer confusing. It becomes clear, not because the person has explained themselves, but because their absence has spoken louder than their presence ever did. And in that clarity, you have a choice to make. You can continue playing the guessing game, asking yourself what you did wrong, how to fix it, when they will return. Or you can stand still, look that silence in the eye, and say something they never expected, the truth. The most powerful way to disrupt the dynamic of the silent treatment is not to yell. It is not to plead. It is not to beg for attention. It is to name the moment, calmly, clearly, without anger, without fear, without the need for a response. You say what is happening, not what you feel about it, not how they should fix it. You speak directly to the behavior. You say something like, "This silence feels like a form of punishment," or "This withdrawal does not feel like space, it feels like control." And then you stop. You do not explain yourself. You do not follow it up with emotion. You do not ask what they think, because this is not about drawing them into a conversation they are avoiding. This is about refusing to participate in the one-sided script. Most people are afraid to name what is happening because they fear it will make things worse. But here is the truth. If someone is punishing you with silence, things are already broken. The only way forward is not pretending it is normal. The way forward is calling it what it is. And here is the most important part. When you name the behavior, you must do it without seeking their reaction. That means you do not wait for them to validate your words. You do not ask if they agree. You do not hope they explain themselves. Because the moment you speak with the goal of getting them to respond, you have returned to the role of the one chasing clarity from someone who refuses to offer it. But when you speak to mark your boundary, when you speak to honor yourself, something shifts. You no longer sound like a victim. You sound like someone who sees. Someone who knows the difference between a hard moment and a harmful pattern. Someone who has stopped being confused by silence and started being clear about themselves. This is not about blame. It is about boundaries. And the purpose of a boundary is not to force change. It is to show where you end and they begin. It is to protect your energy from being drained by someone else's avoidance. It is to let them know that you see what they are doing and you will not stay silent in return. Many people think speaking up will escalate the situation, but the opposite is true. When you speak without heat, when you do not match their cold with fire, you create a different kind of pressure. You create the pressure of truth, and truth always reveals something. It reveals whether the other person is ready to engage or whether they are committed to staying emotionally unavailable. Either way, you have done your part. You have said the one thing that matters most. I see what is happening, and I will not shrink to accommodate it. You can follow this kind of truth with action, not dramatic action, clear action. You say, I will give space to this conversation, and I will come back to it when you are ready to engage respectfully. Or you say, I will be focusing on what keeps me grounded while you take your time. Or even, I will not chase connection that requires silence as a condition. You are not threatening. You are informing. You are stating how you will move forward, and you are doing it without apology. Because you do not owe an apology for choosing mental clarity over emotional chaos. If they respond, let their words be met with presence, not performance. If they remain silent, let that silence clarify everything you need to know. The goal is not to fix the silence. The goal is to remain whole inside of it. Because when someone uses silence as a form of power, the moment you stop reacting, their power breaks. You do not have to raise your voice to reset the moment. You just have to raise your awareness. And awareness turns silence from confusion into confirmation. So speak. Say the thing no one else has had the courage to say. Let your voice be steady. Let your sentence be short. Let your truth be enough. And then, let their response, or lack of it, be exactly what it needs to be. Because the point is not to make them speak. The point is to stop letting silence speak for your worth. There is a moment after you stop chasing. After you speak the truth calmly, after you decide not to shrink for someone else's comfort. And in that moment, the silence remains. The space is still empty. The response never comes. And your mind, no longer running after them, begins to turn toward you. This is the moment when many people relapse, when the loneliness grows louder than their clarity, when the ache to be heard outweighs the dignity of having spoken. And if you are not careful, you will go back, not because you believe in the relationship, but because you fear what silence reveals about yourself. But here is the truth. Their silence is not about you. Your reaction to it is. And this is where your real power begins. Not in fixing the relationship, but in building a relationship with yourself so grounded, so full, so steady, that their absence no longer feels like loss. It feels like clarity. You cannot control whether they speak. But you can control how you spend your silence. You can spend it staring at your phone, rereading the last message, imagining how they are justifying this to themselves. Or you can spend it living, fully, freely, loudly. You go out, you move your body, you eat food that nourishes you. You call people who remind you that your voice still matters. You go where life is still speaking, even if they are not. Because nothing disarms manipulation faster than joy that is not dependent on them. When they go silent, hoping it will make you spiral, and instead they see you steady, see you grounded, see you laughing, not out of spite, but out of fullness, they realize their silence no longer has power. Not because it didn't hurt, but because you chose to heal anyway. This is not about pretending you are fine. It is about refusing to give your peace away. It is about understanding that your peace is not found in whether they message you back. It is found in whether you show up for yourself today. It is not found in waiting. It is found in movement, in momentum, in refusing to put your life on hold just because someone else put the conversation on pause. There is a message you send without saying a word when you live well in the face of emotional immaturity. You are saying, I am not punishing you. I am protecting me. I am not ignoring you. I am choosing myself. I am not playing this game. I am walking off the field altogether. Let them see the version of you that still dances, still smiles, still dreams, not to hurt them, but to remind yourself that they never had the final say over your joy, that their silence does not rewrite your value, that your worth is not waiting in their next message. It has always been with you. And when you do this consistently, something remarkable happens. You begin to believe it. You begin to live like someone whose peace cannot be held hostage. You begin to walk like someone whose confidence does not ask for permission. You stop checking your phone, not because they no longer matter, but because you no longer feel lost without them. This is the silent answer to the silent treatment. Not retaliation, not coldness, just wholeness, just peace, just the steady, gentle return to yourself. The silent treatment is not a moment. It is a pattern, and patterns only change when one person stops playing the part they were assigned. You are not here to beg for words that should come freely. You are not here to fill the space someone else left empty. You are here to stand in truth, to speak with clarity, and to choose peace even when it costs your comfort. When you stop chasing, when you name what's happening, when you live well in the face of silence, you are not just protecting your energy, you are changing the rhythm. You are showing the world and yourself that love does not require shrinking. Respect does not come from fear, and connection should never be confused with control. So hold your voice, hold your boundary, and let their silence reveal what you no longer need to carry. Because the more whole you become, the less noise you need to feel complete.